Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another NBA offseason video. Today, we're covering one of the most popular teams in the league. That would be the Los Angeles Lakers. Everybody up! Everybody up! It's the Lakers episode. It's the Lakers episode. We got some stuff to talk about with them. As always, check us out on YouTube to watch it here. If you're already on YouTube, welcome. Hello. Good to see you again. And without further ado, let's get into it. The Lakers have a plain and simple big three. That's the LeBron model. It's worked before, and they're hoping it can work again. Starting with number one, the King, LeBron James. Minden, will this be the year he finally falls off, or
No.
he will never fall off?
What kind of question?
No,
fall off for LeBron standards, meaning like 16 points per game instead of like 30.
No. This isn't the year, but might be in the next. I mean, it might never happen, but no, this is not the year. I mean, it's LeBron. Come on. Anytime LeBron's on a team with healthy teammates, like they're a threat. And I mean, I'm not going to just talk about LeBron's game because we all know who he is. So.
Yeah, simple as that. And Duvall, Anthony Davis. He actually had a pretty good year in the games that he played in last year. You think he still got it in the tank? Like, you think he can do that for a prolonged stretch, or you think the injuries might have caught up to him this time around?
I don't know. I think AD is probably the second biggest question mark on this team behind Russ, but we'll get to Russ.
Yeah.
AD, we've seen this offseason, people were talking a lot of smack because he hadn't touched a basketball in a long time. And then 2 or 3 weeks go on, and all of a sudden these pictures come out and he's looking like a beast. So now the expectations are a little bit higher because right now he's looking good. He's looking healthy. He's looking like he can play. So when you see that, LeBron is going to have those expectations. And when you play with LeBron, you have to perform. And when AD is healthy, he's the perfect match with LeBron. Yeah. We've seen that.
Mm-hmm. And Russell Westbrook, one thing I wrote under Russell Westbrook is a possible reinvention. Russell Westbrook is not the MVP we once knew him to be. He tried to play a similar game that he used to with other teams for the Lakers last year, and it didn't work. Do you think it was just a fluke? Do you think he tries that again? Or you think how can Russell Westbrook help the Lakers? Because it's looking like he's going to be on the team.
You know, I am sitting here thinking about a conversation we had 3 years ago now, 4 years ago now, more than that, when the conversation of Russell Westbrook joining the Houston Rockets was building in anticipation, and the dynamic duo of Westbrook and Harden was, the idea of that was being played with. And I, for the life of me, could not stop saying that Westbrook needs to be an entirely off-ball player. And that is what Westbrook needs to be for this Lakers team. He needs to be constantly cutting to the basket. He needs to be constantly putting up more effort on the defensive end. And I'm not just talking about the little things like diving for the ball, like the simple shit, the simple stuff of switching on defense, communicating, and following your guy. It's simple. And I think for him, it's a matter of, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, instead of stepping up, taking a step back. And by doing so, you're, increasing your potential of success rather than your role. You're not gonna, we're not gonna get that anymore.
Yeah. If you're not going to be putting up 30 points per game, fill another void. Fill another void that's needed. Continue to put up the assists, continue to put up the rebounds, hustle for loose balls, do stuff that your other teammates aren't doing. And if Russ can do that, he can still be a valuable member of this team. Maybe not $45 million worthy, but still, he's still Russ. Like, I stand by that. Like, he's still Russ. He won an MVP for a reason. He can go back to that.
I'll say if Russ wanted to, he could put up he could average a double-double without points above 10 points.
I like that.
If he really wanted to, I think he could.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
The number 4 on our stars core pieces, just kind of by default, is THT. He's the longest tenured Laker besides LeBron, I believe. Or I believe they came at the same year. So he's gotta step up. He's got to step up. They need someone to pick up the slack when LeBron is resting, when AD inevitably gets injured, when Russ struggles. They need someone else to do it. And I think THT, just based on the rest of their roster, is probably the guy that they're going to look towards, like in recent years, and the guy who's just most likely to do it. But I mean, we'll get into maybe some potential other guys who could step up when we talk about rotations, but we'll move on to their draft, because they came into the draft without any draft picks.
Sorry.
Shouts out Kobe. Shouts out Kobe.
Shouts out Max Christie and Kobe.
In the same conversation.
Well,
The
to slide.
The Lakers on draft day traded into the second round, and for one guy apparently, and that was Max Christie out of Michigan State. Some would say he probably shouldn't have come out so soon. Maybe he knew that Michigan State was about to get a ton of 4- and 5-star recruits and his playing time might have diminished. But the Lakers drafted him because they wanted him. He had an uneventful summer league, in my opinion. He kind of showed the same flaws that he did at Michigan State. But they also picked up Scottie Pippen Jr. I believe he was the first undrafted free agent signed, who had a great summer league and is going to be on a 2-way deal this year. So we'll keep going to the rest of their transactions in the offseason because they were busy. Shouts out Kobe again.
How?
They had some big, some I wouldn't say big. They made moves. Like when you're crunched against the cap like that, they had their mid-level exception and young and veteran minimum contracts to give out. So they gave out contracts to Juan Toscano Anderson, he's ringed with the Warriors. He can do it again. Lonnie Walker was probably their headlining free agent who can just do a little bit of everything. Showed a lot of promise with the Spurs and of course with the U. They signed Troy Brown Jr. for finally getting some shooting on the Lakers, which is something they seem to lack every year. And then they signed Thomas Bryant to be their starting center, presumably, who has had an underrated career for the Wizards. But that also comes with some losses. They lost Carmelo Anthony, who was their 4th leading scorer last year. Malik Monk, who was their 5th leading scorer last year. They also lost Dwight Howard. They lost Kent Bazemore, Avery Bradley, Trevor Ariza. Like they lost a lot of the 40-year-olds that signed to try and ring chase with LeBron. So their rotation is going to be affected by that. So let's just talk about it, because there's not really much to talk about each individual guy here. We'll just talk about the rotation. And Duville, we'll start with you. We'll start with your lineup.
All right. I think the most interesting thing on my lineup right now is Kendrick Nunn off the bench. I mean, there's a huge question mark around him. He opted in. It was very smart of him because he needed that money and he probably wasn't going to get it if he declined. So him coming out is a big question mark, but I put him in the lineup because, I mean, they don't have much else, so they need him. And obviously, I'm putting Max Christie and Scottie Pippen. I don't expect them to. I expect them to be on the day one roster. I will say that, but I don't expect them to spend the entire season there. Like they will both probably go to the G League. That's what they do. And the starting lineup, I mean, it's pretty
straightforward. I think we all have
it's pretty
the exact
uniform.
same.
We have the same one.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Bron, this one's on you. I mean, we've seen him have shittier teams and go further, so I think he can muscle this.
Dove, your lineup's looking pretty similar to Duville's. Just swap one guy. Why don't you tell us about that one guy that you have different from Duville in your lineup?
And that is Wenyen Gabriel.
Yeah,
Wenyen Gabriel,
Kentucky.
Mr. Kentucky guy. He hit 7 threes in a game at Kentucky, and I haven't stopped paying attention and following him since. I just think he's a solid 3-and-D guy that really any team could use. I think he just needs the opportunity to do it. I think he just didn't get that. I don't think he was a big name prospect. And he came just a little bit before this like draft guys who have a low ceiling but high floor early on in the first round. Like before that came around,
Jordan
he
Bender.
was a late second round pick. I think he just has a lot of potential just to be one of those like great spot minute guys in a rotation somewhere. And then you got Lonnie Walker, who I know we've already talked about, but I mean, you take an explosive, good shooting guard and replace him with an explosive, potentially good shooting guard, which is like, it's cool. Bye Malik Monk. Hello, Lonnie Walker. Welcome, Lakers fans. You guys got a big jump guy over there.
Big jump guy. Mindy, one guy that we got in our lineups that they don't is Austin Reeves. That could be because of the 10-man limitation that we kind of put on these, but
Yeah.
Austin Reeves.
I mean, I think they're just going to play. I think Austin Reeves is going to play for sure. But I just think with who do I not have in my lineup? Sorry.
young
Stanley
guys.
Johnson and
Scottie
then
Pippen or Max
Pippen
Christie.
and Max Christie. Like they're going to play. It's just
Stanley
like
Johnson.
whoever fits the
Sorry.
rotation the best is going to play. But what I wanted to bring up, Stanley Johnson, what I wanted to bring up is the fact that a lot of Laker fans might believe AD should be starting at center. And I have preferred AD to play center, but with this roster, it's kind of just like Thomas Bryant's better than whoever you're going to put in there at power forward or small forward if LeBron goes to the 4. And that's why I brought up Stanley Johnson, because he would probably be that guy unless it was like a rogue JTA starting at the 3 and Bron at the 4 and then AD at the 5. So I think Thomas Bryant's the play.
Yeah.
What do you think, Shub? I mean,
I got Thomas Bryant starting just because AD doesn't like playing center, but Thomas Bryant's a very underrated player. Like he gave good minutes for Washington. Like Washington just had like the most center depth in the league for a couple seasons with like Gafford and Robin Lopez was on the team at one point. Thomas Bryant. There's more guys that I just can't think of off the top of my head. I really wanted to say Marcin Gortat for some reason, but that's
the boy.
Way early.
Why did the play of John Wall bouncing the ball off of his head just play in my head?
But the thing I was gonna say about that, Mini, is the Lakers ran a lot of different starting lineups last year. I could see
that's gonna happen again.
I mean, who did they? Darvin Ham. He's gonna find his guys. You can throw. I mean, I was gonna say I could see it happening again. I could, but throw it all out the window. Whoever played last year, it's going to be Darvin Ham's guys now.
Yeah.
And I could see Thomas Bryant moving out of the lineup and like Lonnie Walker, K Nunn moving into the starting lineup.
If you put THT at the 3.
Yeah, I could see THT sliding out of the lineup as well.
Yeah.
They have a lot of flexibility with the guys they have, 1 through 12-ish. And then I got Stanley Johnson in there just for the I wanted to put Wayne Gabriel in there as well because they were both
Wenyen.
I call him Wayne.
I know, but it's not his name.
They got called up. They got signed at the same time last year and they both gave in really good minutes. They played in the playoff. Not in the playoffs. They didn't play. They played in their playoff push a lot.
Yeah.
And I see Stanley Lakers. My cousins are huge Lakers fans. They live in LA. They really liked Stanley Johnson, and it's a kind of a pattern. Former Pistons do better on other teams, and that happened again with Stanley Johnson. So, I mean,
LeBron stopper.
It's facts. That's why LeBron got him. He doesn't want to go against him. I mean, who else? We didn't. Lonnie Walker and Kendrick Nunn. If they can stay healthy, they're going to be great pieces. They have a better bench than last year. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Malik Monk's a big loss. I think he was a lot. He did really well. He scored 20 plus.
He was their 4th leading scorer last year.
Yeah.
Behind their big
that's
three.
a big loss.
And he played the most.
I think Lonnie Walker could step up this year. They obviously didn't have Kendrick Nunn last year. So if THT and Lonnie Walker step up, I think they will replace Malik Monk and then some. But I think it might be a bigger loss than we were really talking about.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, my bad.
No, go ahead, Doof. Go ahead, Doof. Go ahead.
Quick.
Go ahead.
I want to say 2 really big losses. I know they're old, but they were really impactful. Were Melo and Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
We see Thomas Bryant. He's going to get a lot of playing time, but after that, you don't really see a backup center. So it's going to be tough with those
LeBron.
minutes. I mean, Bron is going to
LeBron
be
and AD.
doing everything.
Yeah.
But you can't expect Bron to be in there 48 minutes. It's year 20.
Why not?
It's year
Year
20.
20.
It's year 20.
20.
You can still expect 27, 7, and 7, but you can't expect 48 minutes. It's just not happening unless it's playoff time.
Yeah.
And that's fair. But the backup center is definitely a question mark. And the minutes that Melo was giving were really impactful.
He was solid last year.
He was
He
pretty
wasn't
good.
closing
He was solid.
games. Yeah, he
Yeah.
wasn't closing games, but he was putting in work.
Especially compared to everyone else on the team. Dove, you had something to say.
Yeah. So I don't want to burst any Lakers fans' bubbles. I do actually. I do. I really do want to burst some Lakers fans' bubbles. You guys were bottom 10 in defense last year. I think it was 21. You guys might be worse this year. I mean, if you get more Anthony Davis, I guess you could argue that, you know, him being healthy, he could propel this team to like a top middle of the pack, like
I mean, they were just
14,
bad in
13,
general.
whatever.
last year. They were just terrible
sucked
last year.
I know, but it's not like you did anything to improve the roster surrounding them that much from last year.
So what's your floor for
Team is
them?
going
Doug?
to
Yeah.
fuck
Why?
And then what's your
just
ceiling?
start us off with their.
What
with
is-
their
So
flo-
let's
with
start
your
off
floor
with
and
segue.
my
What a segue.
floor
Yeah.
for this team next year. Let's just go for like 13, 14. I think they could be like bottom
Not
feed.
14.
Top 5
but
pick.
13.
Not 14, like 13.
13.
Like
12 or
if
13.
somehow Sacramento is good and Portland is good,
Sacramento's
because
good.
Dame is gonna have a crazy season. De'Aaron Fox is gonna have a crazy season. I think that propels them above them. And then San Antonio falls, so that kind of brings them down or up a little bit, but still 12,
They'll be
13
yeah.
range is their floor. Sorry. And then as their ceiling, it's LeBron James, a championship. If it's a team with LeBron James, their ceiling is a championship. But I really easily could see them next year going into the draft with, you know, some other team having their top 5 pick.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. JD, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm exactly on that page. Their floor is a little bit different. Their floor is the 11th seed, just missing out on the plan, and their ceiling is finals. With
Yeah.
a win.
Winner.
With a win. Oh, with
Finals win.
With a
Finals,
win.
Okay.
Finals champs.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to argue about there. I'm going to say 11, 12 seed because 13 seems a little steep now that I think about it. But yeah, 11. It's LeBron, even if he plays like
fair.
45 games, they're gonna not, yeah. Ceiling is a championship. Like it's LeBron, it's AD. And I'm really pulling for Russell Westbrook to have a bounce back season. I know a lot of people don't like him, but that's kind of making me like him because now it's him against his haters.
I think we can
Yes,
all
sir.
say
Everybody.
as a pod though, we don't really hate any players. So, you know.
I hate Nick Batum.
Nick Batum.
All
No, I'm just
right,
kidding.
Wow.
I don't hate Nick Batum.
Shoot,
Bring it
us
home, Shu. Bring
What
it
about
home.
James Harden, Doug?
Yeah, Doug, you
I don't hate James Harden.
I've
I
heard
don't-
you say the words "I hate James Harden."
Yes, I have.
As a player, maybe.
All right.
Yeah, as a player.
All right, shoot.
No, but I
um,
don't hate the human being.
Okay. Okay. Obviously championship winners. They can do it. LeBron can do it. AD can do it. Russell Westbrook can do it. Personally, I think I'm a little bit higher on them as for their floor. LeBron's not missing the playoffs 2 seasons in a row. If it's up to LeBron, LeBron's not missing the playoffs 2 seasons in a row. I think 8 seed is the floor because that's just the last seed you can be to make the playoffs. I think they're not missing. LeBron's not missing the playoffs 2 years in a row. What they do in the playoffs, that's a different story. But he's not missing the playoffs 2 years in a row.
I like that. All right.
There's no way. But yeah, that'll pretty much do it for the Lakers this week. Gonna be another interesting year for them. Rest assured. And yeah, so as always, like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us elsewhere. Twitter, Hustle and Hoops just posted a sick TikTok. Shouts out Angel.
Jacuzzi.
Susie.
Jacuzzi on
Shout out
TikTok
Joe.
at Hustle and Hoops. And until next time, we'll be seeing you. Peace.